Dad, I get it, I understand. I was only asking for 25 cents, okay, never mind. And but I heard those stories of hardships. But most of us didn't live through those hardship times. Most of us had lived in a pretty affluent nation. And we didn't have to worry about, will I have enough food to eat? Will I have enough clothes to even wear? I mean, we didn't have to worry about those kind of things. And the problem is, we sometimes get so much stuff, we can't use all the stuff we get. Can I hear an amen out of somebody? I mean, do you have enough stuff? I'll tell you what, I'll come to your house and you come to my house, and I'll get rid of all the junk you have in your house that you don't need. And then you can say, my house. With my wife's permission, of course. Jesus wanted them to understand that his purpose was not to make bad men good men, but to make good men who love God even better. His purpose was to make dead men live, to see people born again and brought into the kingdom, that their focus is not on the things of the world. Let me tell you something. Things give us a false sense of security. One of the things I learned in prison, and I got some of the prison stories, but I'm kind of running out of them, so I got to go back and recharge. One of the things the guys would tell me in prison is, especially the thieves, they'd say, you know what? There's no security system in your house that we can't break. And I heard this from many of the guys. You can sit there and, you need an alarm system, we'll study up on it. And there's always ways to countermand everything. I mean, and so no matter what you have, what kind of locks you have, I saw a locksmith come to my house, and he took 3 seconds to unlock my door. That made me feel real secure. And if he knows how to do that, the other guys know how to do that too. And they said, you have to realize that if we want something bad enough, it's ours. The only thing that they said in a unanimous thing was, the only thing that they will skip a house on is if they have a barking dog. That we can't control the dog. So, but the thing is, we put all of our security in our stuff instead of in God. We put all of our security in the things that we hold dear to us. And we get this false sense of thinking, if only I had more of this. Or, I know school's starting, and kids, I understand, I was a student. My mother used to go shopping for me, and I had to wear the weirdest looking clothes in the world. And I said, Mom, you quit buying stuff like you got to wear it. She goes, well, or you could go to work. So at 13, I went to work. You buy your own clothes. All right. So I worked hard. Back in the old days, we had to really work hard back then. Not like today. We had to actually do math in our brain. It was amazing back then. But you see, the point is this. I never felt like I had the best kind of clothes that some kids had. Some kids had pretty wealthy. My parents were poor. And some kids, they had everything. They'd drive up in the newest, hottest looking car, and they'd have all these things. And as a young person, there's something about seeing somebody in your class that's got more than you, and then it starts our heart kind of going, well, I wish I had that. You see, in our country, we have to be careful of that, because that could be something that, if we don't get a hold of that when we're young, will turn into full-fledged envy. And it's something that we want what other people have. And that's what the commercials on TV try to do. They try to get down to that base part of us, that part of us that really wants to look like everybody else. We don't want to look unusual. We don't want to look weird. We want to look like normal kids do. And so it tells us, if only you had this product, if only you had that product, you would be doing really, really well. But possessions do not give life its meaning. Ask the people that win all the lottery. There's all kinds of tragic stories about these people that win the lottery. I was involved in a situation a number of years ago when I was pastoring a church in Des Moines, that a fellow pastor had somebody in his congregation win the $6 million Iowa lottery. Now this is back in the 70s. $6 million was worth a lot more than it is today. I don't know what it would be worth today. But and he called me up. He said, I need some counseling. He said, I don't know what to do. And I said, pray that they leave your church right away. He said, what? What do you mean? I said, because if they stay in your church, you're going to have all kinds of troubles. And, being part psychologist, that was, I was telling him all the things that start to happen. And after a while, the $6 million lady, and her husband, she got really depressed. She stayed in the church. Oh, they gave a good bundle of money. But she never knew if people invited her to come to something because they wanted her gift or they really wanted her. And these are people she grew up with in this church. These are people that she struggled with. But when she started wondering, do you really want this? And then people would be praying, oh, pray for my nephew. He's in prison. I need $10,000 to bail him out. Or pray for this. Or pray for so-and-so that needs a surgery. And if she would give a gift of $25, people would look at you like you're so cheap. That's what everybody else is giving. You should give more. The money that sometimes we think could be such a blessing could become a curse. There's been psychological studies done on this for people that win large sums of money. If they're not used to having that money, they usually end up in psychiatric care and usually end up losing all their money because people are not used to handling that. We try to place the emphasis on the things. Hebrews 13:5 says, keep your lives free of the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. True life, true abundant life is found in our relationship with God, who gives us our faith, our hope, our joy, our peace. He is the one who gives it to us, but money could never, or things could never be our focus. Now, I was in my bathtub, taking a jacuzzi bath. We bought a jacuzzi tub, and I was sitting there and I was thanking God for, I never could have afforded this earlier in life, and, oh man, it's great. And I was thinking about this message. It's like, my parents got bathed in an old wash tub with cold water, with a scrub brush and Lye soap. Sometimes we get so comfortable in the things that we have that God sometimes has to take those things down. This man he planted all his crops, and he was so glad the crops were growing, and yet it was God who gave the increase. It was God who gave the good soil. It was God who helped the crops to grow. But he was thinking it was all about him. And he was so stingy, he wouldn't share with anybody. And he kept it in his barns, and they tore those down and built bigger barns. And he said, I will say to my soul, you've got many goods laid up for many years, and you've got enough stuff to last you for years in the future. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. You see, whenever we start to put our confidence in the things that we have, God then has to do something to get us back on track. What is it going to take for God to wake us up sometimes? Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to have money. I'm not saying it's wrong to have riches, but it's got to be put in the proper perspective. That's why Jesus talked about how hard it is for a rich person to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because they rely sometimes too much on their riches and not enough on Him. Everything we have is a gift from God. Everything we have belongs to Him. And He can take it or have it or use it any way He wants. Jesus indicated that our energy should be spent and set aside on treasure for eternity. You ever wonder why Jesus, and I don't know what time you guys get out of church here. I wasn't told that, so. Noon? Is that all right? Some of you are like, will they really do it? I don't know. He's crazy enough, he just might do it. I don't know.
That's crazy.
The thing is, Jesus talked a lot about the poor. And how, the poor and the sick. And it's amazing how these people understand faith so much better because they actually rely on God to feed them every day, to clothe them, to take care of them. Whenever we start thinking, I need more money, I need more things, I need more stuff, that's when we start to turn our eyes away from God and turn our eyes toward those things as if they would give us some sort of happiness. Oh, they'll make you happy for a little bit. But trust me, those things will start to look old after a while. We will want other things. Poor people, people that are sick. As Jesus would even talk to the lepers. They understood what it was like to rely on God for everything. Even in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day. Give us today our daily bread. We have to always remember that whatever we have on the table before us can easily be taken away. And that we belong to a nation that, although we are so overfed, we're so overdosed with everything you can think of, that we have to always keep that in perspective. That one day, those things that we have could be gone. Now, I know we live in this country. We haven't had anybody attacking us for a good 70 years, We live in a nation and we're free, and I'm thankful for that. I'm a veteran. There's veterans here, I know. We're thankful for the service that you gave. However, would it be beyond God to humble us as a nation and us to lose all of our power? Could you imagine if our power grids were knocked out? You couldn't use your cell phone. What will I do? If the power grid was knocked out, you couldn't watch television. One day we had a storm in our house when my kids were young, and one of my sons says, he was watching a program on TV, he's like, well, now what do we do? And I brought a book over to him and said, let me introduce you to Mr. Book. With Mr. Book, you can go anywhere, you can be anybody, you can fly to the moon, you can fly to outer space, you can be a Cape Crusader, you can do anything. You see, we've got so reliant on technology and things that God humbled his own people. When King Solomon wrote the scriptures in Ecclesiastes, they were a wealthy nation. He was considered one of the wealthiest men, or the wealthiest man in the world, one of the wisest men in the world. Israel had so much wealth, they had shields that were made out of gold. I mean, these people had money. The temple had instruments in the temple were all solid gold. I mean, imagine that, how much they had gathered, how God had blessed them. And he said, all you need to do is follow me. And if you quit following me, there's going to be trouble ahead. And guess what happened? After Solomon's death, the kingdom was divided and trouble started brewing. And within 100 years, they found themselves enslaved and poor and miserable. Any nation that forsakes God, God will forsake. Now, I'm not one of these preachers of doom. I'm not here trying to get you scared or anything. But it could happen. And we need to rely on God. To rely on him for everything that we have and not to place our confidence. And I tell you what, and I don't do politics and preaching, but we really need to pray. God said to this man, he said, you fool. He said, this very night your soul be required of you. And now who will own what you have prepared? God suddenly announces that this man's life is over. One of the things that I've seen in the hospital as a chaplain, is I've seen people of all ages die. I don't need to tell you that, you know that. But when you work in a hospital, you see it all the time. You see kids, you see teenagers, you see people in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 100s even. You see a whole lot more of the older group than the younger group, but you still see them. And we get thinking about that sometimes, like, you mean I could die? Today could be the last day that I breathe. I don't know. This could be my last day. This could be my last sermon. I've often said, wouldn't it be great if you preach your best sermon in the world, your last one, and you die after you preach? And you know what? That happened this past year at the church in Polo. The pastor's retiring after like 40 years at one church. And he finished his sermon and killed over dead. Ready to retire. It happens, folks. It happens. And you see, we can't be like ostriches that try to stick their head under the sand. By the way, no one has ever seen an ostrich do that. Did you know that? No one's ever seen an ostrich do that. I don't know if I can say that. And so Jesus wanted them to understand that as human beings, there's only one bank we need to bank with. He said in Matthew 6:20, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. We only live a few years, and I'll tell you something, as you get older, and some of you gray-headed people probably would agree with me on this, the older you get, you turn around and go, how did I get to be this old? I was just a teenager. I was just 8-year-old. How did I be this old? We said, and as we get older, it's like, wow, that went fast. That went really fast. I'm in the last 10% of my life, or the last 20% of my life. Isn't that depressing? We start to realize that, we're on a home stretch. Are we heading for the gold or are we heading for the bronze? You know, Jesus said we all run a race. But he wants us to understand that the years that we spend on earth, they're just a few years. Even if you live to be 100, in God's economy, that's just a blink of time. In a few years, it's what we do here for God is what will matter on how we live our eternity. That's why poor people have a little more of an edge sometimes. People who suffer with diseases all their lives or with trouble, they have a little bit of an edge because they understand that suffering has a way of bringing you in contact with God. The people that are rich and wealthy and have always been successful in everything they've done, those are the ones that have to really watch out. Because power on this earth does not equate to power in heaven. Unless you find your riches in heaven and you store them there. Now, why is this so important to understand? I'll end with this. Now, whenever I say I'm coming to a conclusion, does somebody come up and play, or do I just sit here and look foolish? And just I'm not sure how that works. Okay. I'm rusty, folks. It's been over years since I've been here. I don't know. Colossians 3, 1-4. Amazing scripture. It says, if ye then be risen with Christ. That means if Christ is in your heart, if you are his child, if you are a Christian, you love God. He said, if you then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sits on the right hand of God. So he gives us our instructions that if we are Christians, we should seek doing the will of the Father. Thy will be done. Thy kingdom come. You see. And then he says in Colossians 3:2, set your affections, or set your desires, your hopes, your everything on things above, not on things of the earth. For you are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Jesus wasn't saying possessions, don't look for possessions. He wasn't saying that those are wrong or bad. But if we have possessions, we have to be responsible to use those possessions in a way that will glorify God in heaven. And that's putting that in the bank. To be rich toward God is to acknowledge him. And it's how we use the resources he has given us that becomes a treasure in heaven. Final story, I think. When I was first church, I was the pastor. It's a little bitty inner city church in Des Moines, Iowa. And after service, this lady, her last name was Shomans. I can't remember her first name. Called her Sister Shomans. She was ancient. I don't know how old she was. I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s. She seemed like she must have been 150. I don't know how old she was. She probably was 60. I don't know. When you're young, that's what happens. You know, you just got to get her old. But she was old. I mean, she was old. Anyways, and I knew this woman was poor as a church mouse. Back in those days, she didn't have a whole lot of government support. I went to visit her in her apartment in the middle of those cold winters in Iowa, and she had this much space under her door. The door didn't even come all the way down, and cold air was coming in there. And she had a chair in front of her stove. And I said, "What you doing?" She said, I'm staying warm, Pastor. And she had turned her stove on and sat in front of the stove so she could be warm. This is a poor person. Of course, I decided to do something about that. We got her moved to an assisted living place. But the point was, she grew up poor, she lived poor, but money wasn't her thing. It was serving God. And one day after service, Mrs. Showman came up to me and she put a $1 bill in my hand. And again, this is in the 70s. That $1 bill was worth probably 20, 30 today. I don't know, you know. If you're still giving $1 today, you're probably giving 10 cents back then. You know, I mean, you got to realize the economy changes, you know. But anyway, she gave me $1. I was like, oh, no. Oh, sister, I can't take this. You know, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but, you know, this lady was really poor. And she looked at me and she had tears in her eyes and she said, "Oh, Pastor, don't rob me. Please don't rob me of a blessing." It broke my heart. I took that dollar. That dollar meant more than thousands that have gotten, over the years. Because she did not give out of her abundance. That dollar probably could have bought her a meal for that day. But she felt that she wanted to bless God by blessing her pastor. Our lives, it's not how many dollars we have. It's how are we using that for God's kingdom. This man that had all these things and all these barns and all this stuff didn't realize that somebody else was going to possess his stuff when he died. Ecclesiastes pointed that out. You work so hard all your life, and then somebody else that doesn't work, it's all your stuff. Well, we don't mind it if we receive the stuff. But if you work hard, some people work so hard. And we're supposed to work hard. That's good. But we have to realize our confidence can't be in the stuff. It's got to be in Christ. Let's pray. Father, today, forgive us for entertaining thoughts of gaining wealth, or gaining prestige, or gaining notoriety, or gaining compliments, or gaining all these other things that the world goes after. Forgive us for looking at our things and feeling secure in our homes, and feeling secure in our bank accounts, or feeling secure in the things that we have, or feeling secure in our children, or feeling secure in the many blessings you've given us. Because God, you want us to serve you whether we have those things or not. And God, how many people get mad at you when those things are taken away and they quit serving you, which only shows that God, their confidence was in those things. Let us not be like that, Father. Let us have our confidence in you. That God, even though you take away everybody in our lives and leave us with nothing, we still will praise you. We still will serve you because we came into this world with nothing, and we certainly are going out with nothing. But let us work toward building up the treasures in heaven. Let us serve you. God, that builds up treasure. Let us read your word. Let us memorize your word. That builds up treasure. Let us put your word into action in our lives. Let us love people. Let us give, not just money, but let us give of ourselves to others. Let us be a witness for you. Let us go into all the world with the gospel. Let us have patience with those that it's hard to have patience with. God, we want to build up treasure in your kingdom. For this earth will pass away, and so will all the things of this earth. But God, your eternity will last forever. Help us to keep our focus where it needs to be. And forgive us for getting off balance by looking at the things we shouldn't. Now, Father, we purpose in our hearts today to serve you, to love you, to put you first in our lives. Because God, it doesn't matter how comfortable we are, but it matters more to you how we serve you. It matters more to you that we have a contrite heart, and a heart that is willing to repent, and a heart that's willing to say, God, take whatever I have, I'm yours, just as I am. Take me, God, today. I pray, God, your special blessing on these people and on this church now. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
We'll stand a closing song. Day by day.
people as we leave this place of refreshment, as we leave this place of nurture and admonition. Be with us, strengthen us, let us seek your face in all things. And we ask these things in your holy name.
Yes, sir.